Of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Sort of an interesting show for you today. We're going to have Laura Adams, who is a safety analyst for Driver's Ed. How many of you have ever had the opportunity to take a Driver's Ed course in school? No doubt that's a great opportunity for young people to learn the right way to drive an automobile. Now, I don't know how many of you learned the right way. I never learned the right way because I drove a car before it was legal to drive a car, and that was a long time ago, and I still enjoy, to the extent that I did, driving my car and driving my customer's car. The challenge is you wouldn't want to take me out to dinner, because if I'm sitting in the back of your car, I'd say, "Oh, excuse me, did you know you have a wheel bearing bad back here?" It's just my nature. 888 Car Clinic. Hannah will take your call and put you in the queue, and I'll answer your car questions. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part this morning by the Car Care Council, our partners. What a great nonprofit organization. If you're traveling this holiday season, remember to follow the 3 P's: prepare, prevent, and plan, to save money and avoid breakdowns. Sounds like a good plan to me. You can learn more at carcare.org. In fact, that's a really neat site. Take a look when you get a chance. In the meantime, when I come back from this break, I'll take your calls at 888-227-2546. Why CarStar? Today's vehicles offer comforts and conveniences never imagined 20 years ago. Backup cameras, entertainment systems, start-stop technology, the list goes on. These technologies help avoid accidents. But what happens after a crash? Growth in electronic vehicle content adds to the collision repair cost and complexity. Damage a side view mirror or paint a bumper, and you may change the trajectory of that sensor. Adaptive headlights are another example. They actually turn the corner with you as you're turning the corner. The price for these headlights can reach $2,000. Now, more than ever, it's important to follow automaker guidelines for vehicle repairs. Don't compromise vehicle safety. CarStar is North America's largest multi-shop operator of independently owned repair facilities. CarStar delivers consistently high-quality repairs and the industry's highest customer satisfaction ratings. At CarStar, they don't just repair cars, they repair your car. Learn more at carstar.com. Time for another edition of Cooling System Q&A, brought to you by Motorrad, your first choice for vehicle thermostats and caps. Why is the thermostat so important? Cooling system regulates engine temperature and helps prevent overheating. While it's comprised of several components, the thermostat plays a critical role with efficient cooling system operation. It must regulate coolant flow properly to maintain a specific engine operating temperature, in addition to providing quick warm-up. Motorrad's new stainless steel thermal element UltraStat is unmatched for corrosion resistance. Its revolutionary Reax wax mixture provides quicker reaction time. The UltraStat also features bilinear valve technology, which prevents thermal shock to cooling system components, gradually increasing coolant flow versus instant maximum flow found in traditional thermostats. The UltraStat precisely controls engine temperature to ensure the lowest emission standards, maximum fuel efficiency, and terrific interior cabin comfort. The Motorrad UltraStat line is the perfect thermostat upgrade option, with coverage for over 160 million vehicles on the road today. Motorrad, leading the way in coverage and service.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Rosie Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, starts my morning, happy morning. Your name is Folgers Mountain Grow. Now you're here, your aroma helps me wake, and the day is mine to take. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Okay, let's get started with today's broadcast. It's a global cast as well, so we are available at watchbobbylive.com, which is a really neat HD video site. The camera, of course, is right here within the studio, and well, I'll wave at you folks out there. So if you're tuned in at Watch Bobby Live, you can also, and Jonathan monitors our room, you can ask a question there, which, you know, at your own convenience, and Jonathan will print that and bring it into the studio. He works in the control room along with Hannah and Fabio, our producer, and they do a great job. Your calls at 888 Car Clinic, 888-227-2546. We'll take a call from Gary. Gary, you're first in, so you're first up. Good morning. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Am I on the air?
You are on the air.
Oh, that's great. Can you hear me okay?
I can, sure can, Gary. What can I do for you?
I have this 03 F-150, and for about a year now it's been shutting me down and won't let me start. The theft alarm or security alarm, whatever you call it,
Right.
activates, and I have to just wait sometimes an hour, sometimes more than that before I can get started again.
Well, how do you know it's that? How do you know it's a theft system? Because
I've read the manual, and I see my theft light blinking real fast, and when it's doing that, it's not going to start.
Okay. The first thing that I would do is to run a professional scan. I'm sorry.
And I've already had a new key and switch put in it and a new transponder.
And
so I've gone that far with it.
Okay, then the first thing that I would do, Gary, would be to reprogram the car. And I would imagine that whenever those components were replaced, specifically the transponder or the security module, that whoever replaced that would have connected that vehicle to Ford website, which you have to do, and update the software in that system. So that's a doable. That's the first thing to do, and you'd be surprised. Well, everyone that owns a car these days would be surprised if you just think about your PC or your Mac computer. The first thing you do when you plug it in and let it boot up is you go online to get the latest software. I mean, that is a to-do before you. In fact, even our you hear me talking about Diablo Sport tuners. When you take it out of the box, you look at it. It's a neat little handheld device. The first thing you do is hook it up to a computer and go online to make sure that that unit has the latest software from Diablo Sport. So that's what I see for your vehicle, and that's the first thing to do. Obviously, if there are no well, I'd have to look into it. Here's the difference between reading a code with a code reader and using a professional scan tool that we use. Our scan tool can get into the system, so we can get into the security module. And there's one other, Gary, there's one other solution that I'll mention, because it might be less expensive for you, because that's all this company does. Go to a lock like Ace Unlocks. There's an Ace Unlocks, a company that we use, and Ace Unlocks has not only the software, but they have security clearance that automotive service shops do not have. And quite often, when we need a key made or a key fob or something to do with the security, other than just turn the key and put it in the car, I'm talking about smart keys specifically, then we'll reach out to them. And because otherwise, when we reach out to Ford Motor Company, we have to buy a 2-day or a 3-day package. So that's $100. And if it takes 5 minutes, or if it takes 5 hours and 5 minutes, we at least have that software. And otherwise, you could have some wiring issues. And if you did have wiring issues, a professional scan tool that goes along the bus will be able to tell whether or not the security module is speaking to the main mothership, if you will. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, kind of.
Well, it's a software. It could be a software issue, or it could be a wiring issue. But the first thing to do is to see if there's a program, a new program available, or an update. It's not a new program. It's a reprogramming or a reflashing of the existing software. So that's what we do a lot of. Any questions?
Well, one of the problems I've had is every time I've talked to a dealer or the garage that actually put the keys in, they say, we can't really fix it if it's not doing the problem that you have. So they're kind of throwing parts at it.
Yeah.
And the next thing they wanted to do was put a new, what do you call it, ICBM or the IBM computer.
It's a PCM. There's a PC. Yeah, the PCM is a powertrain control module, or the ECM, electronic control module, ECU, electronic control unit. But that is for the powertrain, and there is a separate module for the security of that vehicle. So that's what. Now, to get to that module within the architecture of the system, there's a gatekeeper. And see, that's what, it's kind of interesting, and I'll make this non-technical. A gatekeeper stands in front of the castle. And the castle is the architecture of the software for the whole car. And it may be as many as, in some cases, 75 modules on a car. But there's an average 25 modules on today's car. So the gatekeeper stands guard and says, you can't come in. Well, so you go to a parts store and they read the code. They said, oh, okay, we can tell, and I've said this on air before, so not to be redundant, but if you and I were having a cup of coffee, we looked across the street and we saw a house was on fire, both of us would know the house was on fire. And so, but we wouldn't know where the fire started, or if it were smoking, we wouldn't know what room do we go to where the fire is. And that's the difference between an inexpensive code reader that says, hey, your car's got a check engine light, it's code PO 400, okay? So, but our software and our computer controls and our laptops and our software goes into the house and into the room, or all of the rooms, and runs a heat test, to be using the same analogy. And soon we know where the real culprit is. Then that's where the next step comes in. And Gary, the next step could be not necessarily the replacement of that module, but it could be a function that module is not doing. And to that end, we recently had a car towed in. No, we never drove this car. It was towed in, and it was a Cadillac XLR, and XLA, I think it was. Well, it's a Corvette Cadillac, 07 model, and it had a defective body control module, and we put a new from GM body control module in that vehicle and delivered it to that customer. We programmed it, did the whole 9 yards. She brought the car back and says, now the cruise control doesn't work. And we spent, I don't know, 2 days of our own time. Now that's a lot of time. And ultimately, the body control module that we bought from a GM dealer was defective. And so that's one of the oddities, because you don't really, as a rule, get a defective new module. But it was defective, and it did not recognize the cruise. You could see the cruise online, but it did not recognize it, and the cruise would not work. And ultimately, we replaced that body control module, and the cruise worked. We didn't do anything else except replace the module and reprogram. And I personally went through and reprogrammed every system on this vehicle. Ironic that you should call, Gary, because the only system that I didn't reprogram was the security system. I mean, I did transmission, relearn, idle, top, convertible, automatic convertible top, ABS, traction control, engine control, the whole 9 yards. And the very next to the bottom line of the 9 different functions, upgrades, and reprogramming was a security. And I didn't want to set the security or reprogram it because I was concerned that the key fobs that this person had would not work, if I went in and changed it. So I didn't go there. So for you, it might be the best place to go there because that's where you're having a problem. So that's what I would recommend for you to do.
Can you send me the name of that company you mentioned earlier? Does that work?
Ason, I'll put you back on hold, and what we'll do is give Hannah your contact information, and then she'll give you my contact information, and then we'll follow through, and I'll see if I can help you with that information. Hey, thanks for calling, Gary. And folks, 888 Car Clinic is the number for you to call. It's really easy and interesting to me to share information with you. It'll help you save money and maybe keep your car in your garage and out of mine. Gas prices, $2.61, and that's an increase, $2.61 on the West Coast, $3.34. So we're looking at kind of a rocking ship here with regard to gas prices, up and down, but make no mistake about it, gas prices are higher this week than they were same time last year. Not necessarily last week, but same time last year. I'm going to come back and share some information about batteries that I think is very important for you to know, especially with cold weather coming. Don't go away. Heated seats, backup cameras, and start-stop technology. Just a few of the electrical demands we put on today's cars. AGM, or absorbent glass mat batteries, are up to the challenge. They're precision engineered to offer the ultimate combination of power, durability, and reliability. Short-distance driving means your battery is not fully recharging. AGM batteries are more efficient than traditional flooded batteries when partially charged. They consume less power from the alternator. AGM, the better battery for today's vehicles. Learn more AGM advantages at autobatteries.com.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
The month between October and February topped the list for accidents, damage, and injuries. And while safety technology on today's vehicles is great, it's no match for Mother Nature. CarStar is the authority on winter driving accidents, repairing thousands of vehicles each year damaged in snowy, icy conditions. Here are a few winter driving tips courtesy of CarStar. Check visibility. Add de-icer to your windshield washer fluid. Make sure your wipers are free of ice and all mirrors are clear, and check vehicle lighting. Slow down and stay back. Drop your speed to a safe limit and leave extra distance between your vehicle and the one in front of you. And if your rear wheels skid, take your foot off the accelerator and steer in the direction you want your front wheels to go. If your front wheels skid, take your foot off the gas and shift to neutral. As you skid sideways, the vehicle will slow and traction will return. Find more safety tips at carstar.com. At CarStar, they don't just repair cars, they repair your car.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
The airlines like to have sales. Summer getaway sales, holiday sales, winter sales. Truth is, at any moment, some airline somewhere is on sale with low fares to great destinations. Travelocity knows exactly what's going on, who's on sale, to where, and when, at over 700 airlines worldwide. We even have this nifty feature that lets you look at a calendar so that you can see exactly the days the great fares are available. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere. AOL keyword, travel.
Hun, guess my temperature.
It's 2 a.m. Go to sleep.
Come on, one guess.
Higher, 98.
Higher.
Higher, 99.
You're getting warmer. Wait, I'm getting warmer.
Cold symptoms keeping you from getting a good night's sleep? Get NyQuil, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever so you can sleep better to feel better medicine. Use as directed.
One more guess.
100?
Yes. Tell her what she's won, Bob.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. As I mentioned before the break, at autobatteries.com, there's a list of information. Actually, courtesy of Johnson Controls, there's a list of battery terms, definitions, and glossary. And what I thought that I would do is to share with you some basic information about a battery. And it's not so technical that it's, like Greek. It is absolutely information that you can use to choose your next battery. And so it starts out with, of course, acid. So acid is the chemical that releases hydrogen ions when mixed with water. Sulfuric acid is used in a lead-acid battery. Active material. And this is really complicated. This information, again, comes from the autobatteries.com website. So when you get an opportunity, take a look through there. There are almost 7 pages of terms and definitions of batteries and volts and ohms and all the things that you as a technician need to know. And you as the owner of an automobile, you may not need to know all this, but there's some very important information. For example, the AGM. What's an AGM battery? We talk about AGM batteries here on Bobby Likis Car Clinic. It's absorbent glass mat, which is a type of non-woven separator material composed almost entirely of glass microfibers that absorbs and retains the electrolyte, leaving no free electrolyte in the cell to spill. So when you're limited to placement in a battery, like sports cars and race cars, and that's really where the vibration comes in and all sorts of things, and that's where glass mat batteries are just common. They're always, you go there. Now that cars have so much demand on electrical output, then the AGM batteries are the replacement batteries that we're choosing to replace a lead acid battery. So that's the reason, if you hear me promoting AGM batteries, it's because it's a better battery for my customer, it's a better battery for my car, and it would be for yours. So how do you choose the battery? Now here's an interesting, and there are two different methods here. CCA, cold cranking amps. I mean, we've heard of cold cranking amps, and so what is that? What is cold crank? What does that mean? That's a rating used in the battery industry that defines a battery's ability to start an engine in cold temperatures. Well, duh. You say, well, what does that mean? Well, a great amount of amps is needed to start the engine, but only for a short time. So it's a groundswell, but you need that power to push that engine over and turn that starter. The actual rating is the number of amps that can be removed from a new fully charged battery at 0 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 seconds. Now remember, batteries have about 50% of their power at 0 degrees Fahrenheit. So when you think about the cold weather, and which certainly those of you who are tuned in New York and North Dakota and Washington State, you know where I'm going with this. As a battery ages with use, it may no longer be able to meet the original cold cranking amps because, again, the fully charged battery at 0 degrees temperature of a drain of 30 seconds while maintaining, and here's the kicker, a voltage of at least 7.2 volts for a 12-volt battery. At least 7.2. So if you live in a cold climate, you need to buy a battery with a higher CCA. Would you buy one that's higher rated than your car came with? My answer to that, absolutely. Why? Why would you say? Well, when the car was manufactured, every wire, every cable, every nut, bolt, and so on and so forth was brand new. As wires age, just like tires or just like our skin, elastomers, so does the material in that unit. So, for example, a battery cable and ground cable will not give the ground that it did when it was brand new after it corrodes. And it corrodes with age and with time. So if you live in a warmer climate, you say, well, wait a minute, I don't live in a warmer, I live, in the tropics, Bobby, like you live in Florida. Well, that's when you look at the MCA. Well, what's MCA? MCA is an industry rating defining a marine battery's ability to deliver amount of amperage for a short period of time. Not cold cranking amps, but MCA. And so, since marine batteries are typically never used at temperatures below freezing, marine cranking amps are measured not at 0 degrees, but at 32 degrees for like cold cranking, opposed to cold cranking. The rating is the number of amps that can be removed from a marine battery at 32 degrees for 30 seconds while maintaining what? The 7.2. So you see there's a CCA, cold cranking amps, and then there's the MCA for the marine battery, which is the 32 degree. So if you live in the tropics, you need to check on the MCA rating of the battery. For more, you can go to autobatteries.com. I just thought that it would be an interesting tidbit of information for you to learn and know just a little more about the battery that you're going to need. And I'll also give you a heads up here. When you start your car in the morning after it has been sitting overnight, listen when you put the key in and turn the key to the crank mode, and that's when the starter goes, rrr, 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 okay, or boom. You say, well, it doesn't make, this makes a whirring noise, and then the engine starts. That's the two different terminology there. Starting is when the engine comes to life. Cranking is when the starter is cranking the engine over. Just like, remember, if you look at an old movie and you see an old model T Ford with a hand crank, and and a person got out there and cranked it by hand. So that's what a starter does. A starter cranks. I think it was Bosch that actually put the first starter on an automobile. It's the first spark plug too. I think it was Bosch. Amazing. Where we are now in automotive technology versus where we were, and to that end, autonomous cars. I'll share with you a little later in today's program a little bit about autonomous cars. But the bottom line is, for battery information, nobody makes batteries like Johnson Controls. Go to autobatteries.com. You can not only learn what you need in a battery for your car, you'll learn what questions to ask when you go in for that battery, and on top of that, there's a where to buy. So you can not only get the information that you need, but you can find out where you can buy that battery. And again, that's autobatteries.com. Let's take a call from New Mexico. And folks, I'll remind you, I'll be remiss if I didn't, those of you who are Watch Bobby Live viewers, feel free just to chime in. Jonathan will certainly print your question if you have one and bring it into the studio to me, or Hannah will take your calls at 888-227-2546. From New Mexico, Tim, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thanks for holding.
Good morning, Bobby. How are you doing?
Terrific. You?
I'm excellent. It's really good weather here this morning.
Well, that's always great. We've had some really great weather. We had for this past couple of 3 days, it's just been perfect. We got a little rain last night, but the farmers love the rain. Hey, what can I do for you, Tim?
I'm curious. I have a 2017 Volkswagen Jetta.
Okay.
And it only has 25,000 miles, but I'm excellent on listening to you for so many years about keeping the upkeep.
Right.
How specific is antifreeze to a particular vehicle? I'm told I can use generic any vehicle, anything, and I've told I should use specific G13 something for it.
Well,
give me an idea.
As long as the car is under manufacturer's warranty, you want to use what VW specifications call for. And I say that with tongue in cheek because, number one, and I've answered this question recently, the color of antifreeze has nothing to do with the protection of the antifreeze. So for all of those, my car has sort of a pink reddish antifreeze in it. Pentafrost is what I believe your vehicle takes, and that's a specific antifreeze. So with its 17 age, which means it's still under manufacturer's warranty, and with the mileage, which means it's still under manufacturer's warranty, by all means, you should replace the coolant with Pentafrost, with what the factory recommends. And to that end, just for us to be clear, whether it's the dealer or the manufacturer of the car, the dealer nor the manufacturer makes antifreeze or oils or gear oil or lubricant. They do create formulas that are specific to their brand, and they do that for, I think, many reasons. One, from an engineering standpoint, Tim, VW designs the engine, so they want to protect that engine to the best of their ability, as long as, and here's the caveat, so here's what throws everything out with almost, I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but almost. The caveat about oils and coolants and refrigerants, is that all of that has to be, has to clear EPA. So, and also, oils cannot have phosphorus and zinc, and the ZDDP, which is the one of the highest protective chemicals that you can add in oil, except that it's been found that if you use too much ZDDP, it damages the catalytic converter. So in the big scheme of things, and here's something that is a blanket statement that is a fact. Manufacturers tune engines to ensure that the catalytic, not for performance, to ensure that the catalytic converter will last 80,000 miles as mandated by the government. So if an engine would and could run better, like I talked about, Tim, you know, the Diablo Sport tuners, which adds horsepower and torque and all that. Why don't the manufacturers do that? Because they have to follow guidelines, and they want to make sure that their converter lasts 80,000 miles. So the car's not tuned for maximum performance. It's tuned for a performance that does both, a compromise. Just like the fuel that we buy. The fuel is a compromise because an engine would love a low octane and a higher octane depending on the load. A really cold morning, an engine could use 84 octane, but when the engine gets hot, it's got to have, you know, more. So anyway, that's where that goes. And thank you for your call. But the bottom line: stick with the Penafrost until your car is out of warranty. Then it won't matter. Hey, in the queue, we have Laura Adams. When we come back, she's a safety analyst for Driver's Ed, and I have some more tips for you as well. Don't touch that dial. I'm Bobby Likis. We recently sat down with Kate Searlick, Global Product Management Lead with Johnson Controls. Kate talked about the advantages of AGM batteries, noting they outperform traditional flooded batteries when partially charged, a key benefit if your normal driving consists of shorter trips. Let's hear from Kate.
Today's charging systems are not negatively affected by installing an AGM battery, and no modifications are needed for the alternator or the charging system. In fact, an AGM battery actually performs better when partially charged than a standard flooded battery. This means if you're not driving long enough distances to fully charge the battery, an AGM battery more efficiently performs and not consume additional power from the alternator. We were able to validate this in fleet testing we conducted in Las Vegas, where we witnessed AGM batteries providing up to twice the service life of a standard flooded battery.
AGM batteries help meet the electrical demands put on today's vehicles, and Johnson Controls is the world's largest producer of automotive AGM batteries. Learn more at autobatteries.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Waking up can be a chore, but mornings knocking on my front door. Know just what I'll do. Put on a pot of Folgers brew. Mountain grown aroma hits the spot. Helps me give all that I've got. An opportunity to start out smiling and happy. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
I'm privileged to be involved with Capstone Adaptive Learning, formerly known as United Cerebral Palsy, for over 25 years. Since 1953, Capstone has provided quality care programs for persons with developmental disabilities like autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and intellectual disabilities. Dr. Sherry White with her team are dedicated to Capstone's clients, and 100% of your contributions stay local to serve those in this community. Go to capstoneadaptivelearning.org to see the difference Capstone makes.
Technology moves at the speed of innovation, and today, that's lightning fast. So when you get your hands on the latest tech, don't forget to do the right thing with your old devices. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old tech device as easy as purchasing new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the responsible recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find lots of tips to simplify your recycling, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Television sets, video game consoles, smartphones, tablets, they're all recyclable. Don't let them clog up your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org. You're sharp enough to get the latest tech tools into your home. Now be responsible enough to get your old devices to the recycler. That's greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Very interesting program today. I'll take your car questions soon at 888 Car Clinic. But first, on the hotline with us now is Laura Adams, safety analyst at Drivers Ed. Laura, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you in the house.
Thanks so much. Great to be with you.
First, Laura, tell our Car Clinic listeners and viewers a little bit about driversed.com.
Yes, driversed.com is the #1 online driving school. So what that means is that there are a variety of courses online, and there are also courses that are available for in-car lessons in certain states. So depending on whether you're a brand new driver or you're an older driver, whether maybe you got a ticket, you're trying to get that off of your driving record, or you just want to beef up on your driving skills and maybe qualify for an auto insurance discount, there are just a variety of courses there. So I would encourage folks to take a look. You can log in and just see what's available in your state and check out these courses. They're very reasonable. So if you take one of these classes, you can easily pay for it if you get that insurance discount.
You mentioned insurance, so Laura, what makes choosing an auto insurance policy so difficult for parents of new drivers?
Yeah, I think the main thing is that it's expensive. It really is pricey because young drivers are statistically more likely to get into accidents. Unfortunately, there is a learning curve, and even though a young driver may pass the test and have a license, it doesn't mean that they're going to be great drivers right out of the gate. So insurance companies know that because they are likely to get into accidents, they're going to charge more. So parents really need to prepare themselves for some pretty hefty premiums. Now, the good news is that as your child ages, every year you should see that premium come down a little bit. And again, the insurance companies just know that as that driver gains more experience and maturity, they are going to be less of a risk. And then at about age 25 or 26, if the child is still on your insurance, you're going to see the premium level out about that age where there really is not any type of additional charge for their youth and an experience.
Got it. It sounds like great advice. What do parents need to know when they're shopping around for car insurance?
Yeah, the key here is shop. You really do need to look at multiple quotes. And I say that because every insurance company is a little different. You are not going to get the exact same quote from one carrier to another. And the reason for that is because they're evaluating you a little differently. Some have different discounts that will apply. Some are going to weigh your factors and your driving history differently than others. Some may even factor your credit in differently than others. So getting multiple quotes is really the best way to make sure that the net payment is the best for you. Ask about discounts when you're on the phone with a provider. Just flat out say, what else can you do for me to save money? Mm-hmm. There may be discounts that you're not even aware of, particularly for young kids. The good student discount is one that often gets overlooked. So this is going to apply for high school, college, even graduate school kids who are on your policy if they've got about a B average or better. Now, you may have to submit some paperwork for that. Sometimes it's twice a year, sometimes it's once a year. But if you can show that they are a good student, in a lot of cases that can qualify for a discount that could be as much as 20 or 30%. So that's pretty substantial. So you have to ask for those discounts because in a lot of cases they're not just going to come out and say, hey, how can we save you money? You have to be proactive as the consumer to ask for those discounts.
So you get what you ask for, and sometimes you don't get what you don't ask for. We're talking with Laura Adams, safety analyst with Drivers Ed. And folks, it's a great website. Go to driversed.com and take a test drive, if I may, through there, and you really pick up some great advice. So Laura, a final question. How can parents keep new drivers safe behind the wheel this holiday season? Because that's upon us, and the next 30 days, next 60 days are really going to be a tell the tale there.
It really is. This is a time of year where we're battling winter weather, so maybe there are conditions that your young driver just simply hasn't gone through yet. They haven't driven in snow or ice or sleet. Maybe we're talking about dealing with holiday parties, drinking and driving, or distracted driving. There's so many things that happen this time of year. We get stressed out, we get rushed, we're trying to get a lot done. Drivers are a little frantic on the road this time of year. So this is a good time to make sure that your teen and young drivers, and even us as adults, make sure we really have the skills to handle all of that. If your child does not have any type of formal education at school, I would say make sure that you get that education. Don't think that as a parent you're the best qualified to teach your child how to drive and to give them all these skills. They hear you all the time. It's going to go in one ear and out the other.
Mm-hmm.
If you can get a professional to tell them what they need to hear, and then you back that up as the parent, they're just more likely to absorb that and to put it into action. So using a site like driversed.com is a great way to beef up their skills, or make sure that they get some in-car lessons if you're at all concerned about their skills and driving ability this holiday.
Well, it all makes a lot of sense, and I have to tell you, I have two daughters. Of course, they're old enough now to be beyond that, but as I remember, that was that first accident, and just some information that we didn't really have all that information at hand. So I'm glad to share this information with our Car Connect listeners and viewers. And folks, driversed.com is a site you need to check out today, and so that you can make sure that you're being proactive about new drivers and insurance. And Laura, thanks so much about the tip on the ask for rates and ask for discounts and ask what else. The question is, what question am I not asking? So I really appreciate your time today. Folks, this is Laura Adams, safety analyst with Drivers Ed. Laura, thank you so much for all the information. Have a great holiday.
You too. It's been my pleasure.
And it's always the question you don't ask, and that's what we talk about here quite often. When you go to a doctor, and you write your questions down, but when you leave, there are more questions that I wish I had, I wish I'd thought, I wish I had known to ask. So it's very important that, as Laura just said, it's important as you have a teen in the house that's driving, just remember that as that teen, every year that teen ages, you should get, and this is, I'm not in the insurance business, but you should at least ask your policy, to check on your policy to see if there are any discounts, because the cost of a 16-year-old definitely is going to be different from the cost of a 19-year-old or 20-year-old. So just make sure you do that. That's great information from Laura. Let's go to South Dakota and take a call from Jim. And then, folks, your calls at 888-227-2546. Jim, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thanks for holding.
That's all right. I have more of a theoretical question I'd like to ask you.
Sure.
If the automakers were to develop OBD3, what kind of features would you like to see in the next generation of onboard diagnostics?
Well, we're headed there. It's telematics. That's going to be the next update as you drive, just like Tesla can do and does already. That will be commonplace, and of course that requires someone to subscribe to a cell tower, because that's how that works. So that would be the next, fix the car on the fly. And to that end, years ago, just to show you how close we are there, years ago I was enjoying dinner at SEMA in Las Vegas with some folks from Royal Purple and with Lingenfelter, Ken, who is the owner of that, high-performance company, and his general manager. And I think his general manager's name was Philip, but I could be wrong. Anyway, his GM, his general manager, retired from General Motors in their engine development arena. So he was a great asset to Ken, because Ken actually created his fortune in the real estate, and then he bought Lingenfelter from his cousin. So he wasn't the car guy that built it. But the bottom line, we were talking about, cars, obviously, and high-performance cars. And so Philip said, yeah, I recently received a call from Bugatti, and they said that we have a direct connection to Ken's, it was a Veyron, which is now it's Chiron, but at that time, Veyron. And as you know, that's $1 million, 250-mile-an-hour streetcar, if you will. And they said, we're seeing that there appears to be moisture in the transmission, and there are cooler lines and what have you, and we want to check the sensor, and we want to send a mechanic to fix it, from the UK, by the way. And so from Europe, wherever they're located, VW, so Europe, Germany. So Philip said, well, Ken is driving the car, and I don't know where it is right now. And they told him, Jim, oh, we know where the car is. We're watching the car as we speak. We just want to know when it would be a good time for Ken to bring the car back to his shop, so we can send a technician to change out the sensor and or to check the car. And that was no less than 6 or 8 years ago that I had that conversation with those folks. So that's really where we're going, because for years, in fact, it's been a passion of mine, even before the industry, 15 years ago, that I wanted to put a dongle in the OBD2 port, and then use the cell phone of the owner, and then whenever, let's say, Jim, you're in South Dakota, but maybe you live in Pensacola, Florida, and you're one of my customers, so I put that dongle in your car, and you're driving, and your check engine light comes on. It immediately sends me a signal. I get a beam, a beacon, just like OnStar does for their emergency channels or for help or for guidance, and I pick up the phone and I call Jim, and I say, Jim, the check engine light's on, or you call me, either way, but it connects my shop to your car. And therein lies the value from a shop standpoint, and therein lies the value for you as a consumer, because your car is being monitored. And I know there's the big brother issue that we've all talked about. Hey, that's with us. Folks, you may as well get over it. There are devices that are tracking your braking, your speeds, your throttle, whether or not you have the seat belt on. All that's being tracked as we speak. So, Jim, the next OBD3 would be more wireless, real-time communications with that car, and to that end, autonomous cars, with LIDAR and all the electronics that are on those things, the autonomous cars use what's called a vehicle avoidance, like aircraft have, crash avoidance. And so if you are going 70 miles an hour down a boulevard, and I'm going 70 miles an hour down an intersecting boulevard, and for the last, let's say, 4 miles, and we continue to close in, the trajectory says that, hey, we're going to meet at the same intersection at the same time. We need to watch this. Like you see an aircraft controller, the tower controller, aircraft. So, and I knew a man who was in that business one time. He was crazy. I mean, he was way off the charts. And I said, you're the fastest thinking man I've ever seen. He says, well, in my arena, you got to be that way, but I won't go there. Anyway, he was very interesting fellow to talk with, I'll tell you that. And because he had seen a lot of things that in his day. But the bottom line is, as those two vehicles get closer and closer and closer, the crash avoidance takes over, and one of them's got to stop or slow, or else there's going to be warnings to pop up, and then there's finally going to be emergency action. So that's your question has more to do with autonomous or driverless, see, autonomous cars. We should have self-driving cars, not autonomous cars. And you know the difference?
No.
Okay, well, a good friend of mine who is a rocket scientist and probably the smartest man I know, at least he has the best retention of knowledge of anyone that I know, started a company, an organization, IHMC, Institute for Human and Machine Cognition, here in Pensacola, Florida. it's our bragging right, and it is a fantastic organization. And they came in second place for robotic walking on a global basis a couple 3 years ago. But when I talk with him about this opportunity, he says we don't need a car that's autonomous, because an autonomous car would make the decision to crash and kill the driver versus running into 10 people, because that's the way it would have to be structured. That's an autonomous car. We need a self-driving, but even with a self-driving car, the ability to think for oneself, it shouldn't be behind in a computer. And so he's all for self-driving cars, and that's really, I guess what the next stages we're going to. I love your question, by the way. We're out of time for this hour, but it was a fantastic question, and I'll do some research on OBD3, and maybe over the next couple of 3 weeks we'll get into that. Certainly for the new year, that's what I'll bring to the table is OBD3, and I'll check with my sources, and you folks can too. Jim, thanks for your call. And folks, that's all the time we have for this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Too bad. No, the good news is we have another hour coming up after the top and after the break. I'm Bobby Likis. Don't go away. Like us, you're going to love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Entertainment, GPS, heated seats, backup cameras, and start-stop technology. Just a few of the electrical demands we put on today's vehicles. AGM or absorbent glass mat batteries are up to the challenge. They're precision engineered to offer the ultimate combination of power, durability, and reliability. AGM Battery Advantage is robust design. With high compression cell design and glass mat separators, AGM batteries are built to excel in the most demanding conditions. AGM, the better battery for today's vehicles. Learn more about AGM advantages at autobatteries.com. At CarStar, we repair hundreds of different makes and models, but the name on the car isn't nearly as important as the name of the person who owns it. Because of CarStar, we don't just repair cars, we repair your car. There's only one like it in the world, and our expert technicians treat it that way. If you're ever in need of collision or storm damage repair, look for or ask your insurance company about the nearest CarStar, the auto body repair center with a nationwide guarantee. Check it out, carstar.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
If you're familiar with the Kulseford section of the newspaper, you probably understand this message quite well. You see, in the Kulseford section, everything gets abbreviated. Consonants, vowels, prepositional phrases, the very building blocks of our language are thrown right out the window. And that makes it difficult when you're trying to sell your car. You've got a limited amount of space to work with, and by the time you abbreviate the description of your car down to a couple of fragmented sentences, it sounds less like a car and more like a Bluck sedan with sniffed like new condition lemals. No wonder more people are selling their cars through eBay Motors. They can post unlimited text and photo descriptions, and with a nationwide marketplace, they're likely to sell it for more. Plus, both parties can be covered by eBay's vehicle protection program. Buyers are happy, sellers are happy, and no one's abbreviating. eBay Motors, a better way to sell your car.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome to this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Also, our 888 Car Clinic number is open, 888-227-2546. Miss Hannah will take your calls. She's very... She's really, she can really slam a door. I had to say that. I had to say that because she goes into the control room, and it just so happens that I have my studio door open this morning because the weather's cool, you know, and I like that cool breeze coming in. Well, not much of a breeze because we're inside a building, but the studio is like airtight, so we don't have the air conditioner on this morning. We have the heat on, and the crew is in the control room where they want to be toasty, and I'm in the booth here where I want to be cool. So I can take your calls. 888 Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Folks, when it comes to safety, there's nothing more important than your vehicle's brakes. You can trust the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts to help you choose the brakes that are an exact fit for your vehicle. Brands that you can trust like Brake Best Select, and Wagner Thermal Quiet. O'Reilly Auto Parts has the brake parts and accessories you need at guaranteed low prices. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day. Your calls at 888-227-2546. When I come back, we're going to talk about GM and shuttering plants. Really? This car repair spotlight is brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Folks, this week we had an 05 Chrysler 300 Hemi towed into the shop with a terribly noisy engine, and it just barely ran. We removed the spark plugs and used a borescope to look into the cylinders, immediately determined it had a damaged piston and cylinder head. After engine teardown, we determined a valve seat had fallen out of the head and destroyed the engine. Seems that's a common problem with older Hemi engines. We called O'Reilly Auto Parts Professional and decided on their Power Torque Reman engine with the 3-year limited warranty. Given the overall great condition of this car and the affordable cost of the O'Reilly Auto Parts Power Torque engine, it made sense to repair the car versus buying a new one. The Power Torque Hemi ran as new, and we were able to restore the car within our customer's budget. That's why our first call for parts is O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day. We recently had an 09 Honda Pilot come into the shop with 169,000 miles on the odometer. The vehicle owner said the cabin was starting to smell like coolant, and he was concerned. Upon closer inspection, we found a heater core leak. Choices were to keep the vehicle and make a repair, which at best is half a day's labor plus parts, or sell the vehicle and buy a different used car that could have its own set of problems. We presented a third option, K-Seal. You've heard me talk about K-Seal before. Well, I don't just talk about it, we actually use the product in our service shop. It's a pour-in solution designed to stop leaks and help prevent future leaks. Other sealers use sodium silicate, which has a tendency to clog the system. K-Seal features ceramic technology that's designed to repair the leak without clogging. Our customer went with K-Seal, and 1 month later, no more leak. Learn more about K-Seal at kseal.com. Don't just seal it, K-Seal it.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
Car dealers like playing games. They play percentage points, they play markups, but I don't like playing with my money. So I got my auto loan through LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form, a marketplace of banks and lenders competed over it, and I got 4 offers back within hours. After all, the car buying game is a lot easier to win when you're holding all the cards.
LendingTree.com. When banks compete, you win. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at LendingTree.com.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Okay, let's get this hour started. I mentioned GM, that the fact that they're going to kill the Chevy Volt, the Cruze, and Impala. They're going to axe 3 plants, and then shortly thereafter they're going to axe the Buick LaCrosse. So why do this? Well, you know, skipping all the way to the end, it says GM said the plant restructuring and layoffs will combine to free up $6 billion by 2020. So are they not selling these cars, or are we not buying these cars? Well, obviously, there has to be some reason that GM will do that. I'll share what information I have with you, but first I'm going to take your calls at 888-227-2546. The first call will be from Mike. Mike, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. You're first up.
Yeah, how you doing?
Terrific. Yourself?
I'm all right.
Well, good. What can I do for you?
Well, I was explaining to the lady I talked to that I got a Dodge 318, Dodge 1989 Dodge Ram Charger, and the motor had a lot of mileage on it, so I went ahead and took it in somewhere, and they said it'd be best to get a rebuilt crate motor.
Right.
So I went that route, and as time went on, the guy that put it in kept replacing the exterior components, you know, because he thought I needed it, because the problem was after he put the motor in, I had a low idle vibration. You know, when you started it up, it would be vibrating some, you know, shaking a little more than normal. But everything drove okay. Everything checked out. You know, he tested everything on the motor, and everything he could tell was running okay. They couldn't determine what the problem was. So this guy went out of business. So, you know, I kept driving the truck because it drove okay. Took it in somewhere else, you know, because I had a 3-year warranty on the motor.
Right.
And they put another motor in. Spartan Motors replaced the motor again. Same problem. So I'm back at square one with this. The tech guy got a hold of the mechanic, trying to determine what the issue was, and they're waiting for the motor, the original motor they took out, to send back to the factory to see if they can find anything wrong with it. And at this point, I don't know what it could be. You know, the mechanic thought it was the crank. Maybe they put the wrong crank in there or something, but he checked that out, and they put a 318 crank in there. So I don't know what it could be. You know, do you got any thoughts on that, where it could be something in the engine? Because at this point, it looks like it was in both engines. You know, whatever's going on with that 318, I don't know.
Well, number one, there may be a flywheel issue, but I don't see how that would be possible. A 318 versus a 360, some engines, and I'm not sure in this case, Mike. And by the way, that Spartan engine, that's an ATK product, and ATK brought to the automotive aftermarket remanufactured engines, especially in the early days of Nissan and foreign engines, where there were very few American-based companies that could supply that. And ATK, I think, I'm not sure where their headquarters, but it was not a USA company. That being said, my assistant service manager and I just discussed, and he just chose a Spartan engine for his 300,000-mile excursion. So I'll be able to, in real time, share with you my experience, which I will do.
That'd be great.
It'd be great. But getting back to your Dodge, so it idles at and it shakes. Does it shake at an idle like a nervous idle, or is it above idle, or whatever?
Well, it's you know, as you start it up, everything cranks up and everything runs good when you get going. But when you're sitting there, you know, it's shaking like it's off or something, you know, almost off of timing. But that's not it, you know. And the motor mounts, everything is all firing, all the cylinders, everything's on track with that. It's just and then when you get going with it, you don't notice it at all. It's just basically in the idle position where you notice this, and then. That motor doesn't have a flywheel because it's an automatic. It's just got a flex plate. Because the funny thing is, two mechanics thought it was the torque converter. So, you know, the thing that kills me, I just replaced the torque converter, and that was a big chunk of money, and that wasn't the problem.
Right. Well, let me say this. Now, you said that they don't have a flywheel. All cars have the flex plate, and even a flex plate has weights that are attached to the flex plate for engines that use balancing techniques outside of the crank.
Yeah.
So like a 428 Ford engine has a weighted, even automatic has a weighted flex plate and a front harmonic balancer. So, but that's
right. Yeah, all that stuff was apparently checked. You know, because the guy that put the motor in originally put a new harmonic balancer in, and this guy, the other mechanic that I have it to now, he checked it from top to bottom. You know, and then you got the tech guy from Spartan Motors on the phone. He was telling him to do a few things, you know, vacuum checks and this and that. But it's just, you know, and the thing that's killing me is I've spent close to $10,000 on this truck so far.
Exactly.
And, you know, in hindsight, I would have just bought a complete motor with training and everything out of a junkyard. Probably would have been better off. But I don't know. You know, I was thinking that this was the way to go, you know. But
I hear you, yeah.
I didn't know what else to do. You know, I'm kind of in the limbo because the mechanics got it now, and the Spartan motors, they're taking the motor back, the original motor that they put in originally, you know, from Spartan. They're taking it back because both motors are having the same issues, and I don't know if it could possibly be something that's just in the motor that's causing this out of balance, or like you said, the flex plate. But I think these mechanics would have determined that.
Well, let's see. You mentioned one thing. You mentioned that and going back to the first engine. And I'm assuming that your engine vibration is an out of balance condition, but let me clarify, or let's pinpoint. If the engine is out of balance, it will not cause an engine to shake at an idle. It will cause an engine to shake at 1,500 RPM.
Oh.
That is the harmonic rotational source. I've balanced engines, built race engines, and have driven many cars that had harmonic balancer issues or torque converter issues, and I can tell you an engine idling in gear could be violently out of, well, not violently, an engine idling in gear, automatic transmission, you're looking at below 1,000 RPM, somewhere between 7 and 850 RPM, give or take, and 100 RPM. And if that engine were out of balance, it would not shake at an idle. Has anyone tested a static compression, a real hard line geometrical compression ratio? Or not ratio.
As far as I know, they have. Yes, sir. Both of them have, because that was the one thing that the tech guy told him to check was the compression, make sure all the cylinders were firing correctly, and all that's been done. But, you know, what happens is when you're sitting there in the idle position and you rev it up, it'll go up, you know, in RPMs. It'll go, and it'll shake a little bit more. And then when you rev it back down, you know, when you take your foot off the gas, and when you're sitting there, it'll go back down and it'll still be vibrating. So it does seem like definitely something, of course, that's running. You know, of course, something that's spinning that's causing that. And you mentioned the flex plate. And I'm wondering, you know, because all these guys check the flex plate out, and I don't know what else they can do on that, you know?
Well,
I mean, and then the flex plate isn't part of the motor, I don't think, is it? I mean, that's an external component, right?
Yes, but understand this. The flex plate, when the engine was designed, if it was designed with external balance, because the crank throws didn't allow enough meat or and stroke and bore has a lot to do with that, and the original design. So like a 428, which is a stroke 390, so the stroke is so long that to offset the balance of it, you have to go outside of the engine, and that's a common denominator. So when you say that they've checked your flywheel, what does that mean? They may not have realized that originally, I mean, let's just say you've got a 318 engine in the car, and you did say someone changed the harmonic balancer. That could have created the problem since day one. That makes sense?
Yeah, but you know, that motor, is supposedly internally balanced at 318. So
yes,
these guys are getting the impression that
yes,
there's nothing they can do on it. But I mean, I understand your point.
No,
so,
but wait. You told me that they changed the harmonic balancer. Was that done on the first engine because it had been damaged, or it was damaged? In other words, who knows that the current harmonic balancer on that vehicle is not causing this whole problem?
But how do you tell? I mean, is there? You
Well,
know,
yeah, you look at it. You look at the harmonic balancer, and you draw a circle. And if it's got, if it's solid between 12 o'clock and 3 o'clock, and it's hollow from between 3 o'clock back around to 11:59, then you know that it's a weighted harmonic balancer. Otherwise, it will be symmetrical in its body. That's what I would check. Hey, I gotta go. Got a hard break. This Engine Care Spotlight is brought to you by Walker Products, a leading manufacturer of quality fuel system components and engine sensors. Today's vehicles are being pushed to new heights with increased fuel economy and fewer tailpipe emissions, which has created the need for a smarter and more sophisticated exhaust after-treatment system, featuring an array of sensors designed to help monitor and control the different aspects of vehicle operation and health. The EGT, or exhaust gas temperature sensor, plays a major role in multiple processes, and it's critical that the EGT is performing within their limits. But not all EGT sensors are created equal. Housing styles and materials vary, in addition to resistance types and temperature ratings. It's imperative that a consumer replace their EGT sensor with a correct OEM factory-style sensor. Walker Products has been supplying the automotive aftermarket since 1946 and manufactures all of its EGTs using only OEM-based sensors. Need a new sensor? Walker Products offers OE quality at aftermarket prices. Drive to walkerproducts.com. Berryman Products is celebrating their 100th anniversary, providing innovative products to the automotive aftermarket, like Berryman Chem Dip carburetor parts cleaner that helps remove gum, varnish, fuel residue, and other harmful deposits from carburetor parts and throttle bodies without heat, aeration, or agitation. Berryman Chem Dip carburetor parts cleaner is safe to use with most plastic and metal carburetor and throttle body parts, including steel and aluminum alloys. Learn more at berrymanproducts.com.
What 100-year-old automotive company makes dozens of products to extend your vehicle's life and improve its performance?
Let me see.
Which company uses high-energy solvent technology, or HEST?
It's on the tip of my tongue.
What company introduced B12 Chem Tool over 40 years ago? Still the best fuel system cleaner on the market?
Oh, don't tell me it's
Berryman Automotive Products. Correct. Berryman Automotive Products has lubricants, cleaners, solvents, hundreds of solutions, and every product all American-made since 1918. You'll find Berryman Automotive Products at AutoZone, Pep Boys, and Walmart. Now, why would you buy anything else?
You sure ask a lot of questions.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Telephone tip.
From Geico Auto Insurance.
When calling Geico to switch your car insurance, you will not need acetaminophen, naproxen, indomethacin, ibuprofen, a cold compress, an on-call acupuncturist, or any other pain remedy. In 15 minutes, you could save 15% or more. If it were any more painless, you could do it in your sleep, which is theoretically possible since we offer complete 24-hour service. Call 1-800-947-AUTO, 1-800-947-AUTO. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
When you purchase the latest TV, tablet, or smartphone, don't forget to do the right thing with your old ones. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old devices as easy as buying new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find recycling tips, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Don't let your old tech tools clog your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Interesting call from Mike there, who he's in a quandary. He spent a ton of money, and he still has an engine that vibrates. And from his description, it does sound like it's an out-of-balance engine. It's possible that it's not, but there have been two engines that have been installed, remanufactured engines installed in that vehicle. But he did say that the harmonic balancer had been replaced. So at what point in time was that balancer replaced? Maybe when the original engine was replaced, they found the old balancer was worn where the seal goes through. That doesn't come with the reman engine, the external parts. So it's possible that they installed a 360 And I think a 360 engine is an external balance engine. So the original technician that installed the engine could have gotten the wrong part and it used it, and now that's what the problem has been. And every time they change the motor, which has been twice now, they put that same balancer on there. So I definitely think, Mike, if you're still tuned in, that's a to-do, to look at that. And also, I would go back to, not that this proves anything, I'd go back to the invoice of the engine and see what the part number was, because it's possible you might not be able to clearly see, well, or you could go to, easy enough, go to O'Reilly Auto Parts and hold a 360 balancer in your hand and hold one in your, for a 318 in the other hand, and look at them and compare the two. And you'll, if what I'm thinking, and I don't know this because I haven't particularly looked at a 360 versus a 318 balancer, a harmonic, but it makes sense to me, and it's one of those way outside thinking the box. And that's where we particularly shine in our company, because we do a lot of, and we do correct a lot of issues on automobiles that other shops can't or won't, or both. Let's go to Detroit, but first we're going to take a call from Jim. But first, I mentioned to you at the start of the show about GM. So General Motors recently said that it will discontinue the Chevrolet Volt, the Cruze, and the Impala early next year, and shutter 3 assembly plants in the U.S. and Canada as it reduces its workforce and feeds demand for crossover SUVs and pickups rather than sedans. Now, Ford has already announced that they're going in that direction. GM said that the assembly plants will idle by the end of 2019, which is next year, include the Lordstown plant near Warren, Ohio, the Detroit Hamtramck plant in Michigan, and one in Ontario, Canada. So in this release, GM said that the plants won't be allocated new products, which will spell the end of the line for several sedans in the automaker's portfolio. This information that I share with you comes from Motor Authority, of which I subscribe, and GM told Motor Authority that the Volt and the Cruze will go out of production in March of 2019, and the Impala will end during the fourth quarter of next year. The Buick LaCrosse will end production also March 19. And let's shift gears. GM said it will push forward with electric cars and self-driving vehicles as part of its future plans. So we're looking at a changing of the guard, folks. We're looking at a changing of the technology and what technology is bringing. And I've often said that regardless of what the manufacturers make, and I make jokes about the Aztec and cars that I think are not, that are ugly, quite candidly. If you got one, I apologize, but you know, they are strange, and yet a lot of people bought those cars for a short period of time. So I've made the statement that whatever Detroit builds, or whatever the UK or whatever is built, people will buy a significant number of those cars. And to that end, that's true, but if we as consumers don't buy, then just because they make it doesn't mean that it's going to be successful. So I have one other potential for this conversation that I'm going to share in a minute, and get down to what I think is behind, or at least certainly a part of why these decisions are being made. And I'm going to share that with you. But first, we're going to go to Michigan and take a call from Jim in Michigan. It's been quite a while since Jim's been on Car Clinic Air. Jim, welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Well, Bobby, thank you very much. I've got a better mic, so you should get better sound today.
Well, always good to hear from you. You know, the fact that GM is shuttering these plants and killing off the Volt and the Cruze and the Impala and the Buick LaCrosse, that's a pretty heavy-duty statement. And they say they're doing it, and it'll combine to free up $6 billion by 2020. What's your take?
Well, what's my take is, how did Volkswagen get $50 billion to apply toward cars when they cheated on their test, and GM is only going to get a growth of 6. There's a big difference there.
Well, I can't tell you about VW, but they say it's going to free up $6 billion. I will share with you, and I was going to wait till a little later in our conversation. Coming up, the proposed cuts are coming ahead of scheduled negotiations with the UAW, United Auto Workers Union, next year that could reshape production plans for hourly workers. So I do not believe in my heart of hearts that GM is going to kill the Volt, the Cruze, and the Impala, and the LaCrosse, and 3 plants to put themselves in a better bargaining position with UAW. Having said that, it would not surprise me.
Okay, Bobby, the idea with all cars eliminating sedans, we don't need anything but a sedan, and most SUVs are going to cost double in the $40,000 to $60,000 range, and that's too much of an investment for me at this retired time.
Mm-hmm. So, but again, how many folks in your age group? You're not the target, obviously, age group for General Motors. There was a time when GM was, before they changed Cadillac. There was a time for Mercedes-Benz when they were going for the older, more affluent purchaser. In fact, Mercedes-Benz changed their body style when they came out with a 4-door coupe, which I thought was a beautiful car. Still think it's a beautiful automobile, the 4-door coupe. And guess what? The average age, the first year they came out with that car, dropped from the average buyer's age dropped from the 60s to 52 within the first year. So make no mistake about it, it's a marketing target audience, and so that's where they're headed. As far as the SUVs, you don't have to spend 50 or 60 for an SUV unless you have a big family. You can buy, the Hyundai makes a great $28,000 car. Subaru, I think they're in the high 20s. So, for me, it wouldn't work, because if I were going to get a big car, if I were going to get an SUV, I'd want an SUV that I can pull a boat and have 6 or 7 people in there, plus baggage. But that doesn't fit my lifestyle, because I've never had a boat, nor do I ever really particularly want a boat. Not one that I could pull anyway. So,
well, staying with a compact car, I'd still want an electric car next, because the maintenance is lower and the batteries are better than even in a gas car, because when you're done with an 8-year-old battery, you can put it in your roof and use it for solar power to power your home.
So, Jim, you would buy an EV then?
That is true.
Yeah, well, I'm with you. I agree. So I think in this case, and just think about what you just said, you're buying an EV. You're not the age group for maybe today's cars, but you'd buy an EV, and yet an EV is targeted for all age groups, because especially when you have a younger age group that are more environmentally conscious than perhaps folks of your age or my age. So I like the EV because it is short on maintenance. I think it's when I say short, it's less expensive on maintenance. That's a proven fact. And the batteries don't give problems. I thought 100,000 miles, but that's wrong. They're going 250 on batteries, easy.
And most of them, if you change a model, you can sell it for the full price, because manufacturers right now are not keeping up with the production, and you have a good investment.
Well, I don't know about the used part, the used value, but so
well,
what
most
about,
of my
what
friends
about
that had a used car for a year or 2 years got the full value when they put it out in the open market.
Well, that's really something. What kind of car was it?
It was a Tesla car. They got the full value.
That's unusual. It must have been,
It had about 30 or 40,000 miles on it.
Well, let's talk about autonomous cars. That's what I see on the screen. That's what you want to talk about.
Autonomous cars. I have a vision issue, which I would like to have an autonomous car, because that could be legal to drive the car. My wife wouldn't have to take me everywhere I want to go. Autonomous cars, I agree with you on the difference between an automatic car being good and being bad. Yet, already we're with the self-stopping brakes that have saved many accidents, and those are autonomous.
Well, there's no question that technology, even if it never comes to fruition, I mean, totally, and which it will. I believe it. I know it will. But even if it never did, the technology that is used to design and build those cars and test them on the millions, hundreds of millions of miles that have been tested, that those components are automatically migrating to the cars that we're driving that are not autonomous, but as you said, self-stopping, airbag deployment from the rear, behind the head of the rear passengers, side, traction control, all the benefits we're gaining and getting, all the benefits to the consumers that autonomous cars promise to bring, and yet we're already seeing some of those that have made it to the showroom floors. That's a given. I think it's great.
I do too. I think we have a good future ahead. We just have to be patient with it. And what's going to kill the car business a little bit is the tariffs if we don't agree on them, because we don't have our own steel, and that's why cars might have to go up.
Well, I think tariffs are, I don't know, that's a whole new ball game if you start talking about tariffs. Then you get into the political arena.
Yeah, but we don't have our own steel supply. We have to get it from other countries, so we're stuck paying a big tariff to produce the car if you want a good steel car.
Aluminum, does that mean aluminum as well?
I don't know if they classify it as well. I really don't know on that one.
That's a good question. So there are many opportunities. Corvettes, who cares about steel? Aluminum, sub-space chassis, which is gorgeous, and the fiberglass body, and all those things. Hey, Jim, nice talking with you. Heartbreak coming up. Always good to hear from you from Detroit. And folks, I'll take your calls at 888-227-2546 when I come back. Talking tunes? No, not the ones on your radio, the ones that allow you to reprogram your vehicle's factory computer without even popping the hood. The result is more power, more torque, and a better overall driving experience. We recently sat down with Jim McGinn, Vice President of Marketing for PowerTech. Jim touched on some of the additional products Diablo Sport has to offer.
In addition to the Diablo Sport lineup of tuners, Diablo Sport also offers Jammer cold air intake systems and Hooker Blackheart exhaust kits. These kits work in concert with the Predator 2, Intune i3, and Trinity 2 programmers to deliver increased fuel economy, mileage, and overall performance for your gas truck or SUV.
Folks, Diablo Sports performance products make the perfect holiday gift, and now is a perfect time to buy with their Holidays savings. How cool is that? You get up to 20% off SRP on their extensive lineup of premium performance products. Learn more at DiabloSport.com. That's DiabloSport.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
More than 1 million wild animals are killed each year illegally. Poaching is a major threat to our country's wildlife. I'm Tom Barry. I'm an actor with a desire to preserve living space for wildlife. The Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust does just that. Works with private landowners to protect wildlife, to preserve natural habitats. To learn more or to work with the Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust, call 800-729-SAVE. That's 800-729-SAVE, or visit wildlifelandtrust.org. Thank you.
Did you know 26 million Americans have kidney disease and most don't know it?
The day I was diagnosed, I didn't know what to do. I called the National Kidney Foundation, and the young lady who answered stayed on the phone with me and walked me through step by step. She too was surviving kidney disease. She showed me there could be life after kidney disease.
Visit the National Kidney Foundation at kidney.org. Now you know.
We're a land of cynics. We don't believe anything anymore. You know why? Because we've been told we've won $1 million, that it's new and improved, that it slices and dices, that our favorite singer is still alive, that we'll be prosecuted if we cut off the tags, and of course that everything is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So when we hear the words customer service, we don't believe it. Travelocity isn't surprised if you're a little skeptical when they say they have excellent customer service, and that there's actually a pleasant face behind this website, a living, breathing person with a supercharged computer full of answers. Someone who's willing to help when you get lost, and most of all, someone that will actually pick up the phone when you call with a question or a concern. Customer service is just another example of how Travelocity puts you in control of travel. Chances are you'll never have to use it, but it's good to know it'll be there if you need it. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. We are winding down 2017, so 18. Got me. We are. I was thinking fast forward there of 2019 coming up, and it's a great time of the year. A lot of parties. I don't know if you had tuned in, folks, to an earlier hour, the first hour, but we had a lady on, Adams. What was her first name? Laura Adams. Excuse me, Laura. Who represented driver's ed. And she gave a lot of great information with regard to teens and insurance rates and what have you. But what I took away from my time on air with Laura, with driver's ed, was that she just reminded everyone to ask your insurance company if you qualify for a rate break. Because when you pay for a policy for a teen in the house driver, that policy is out of sight. It's the rates, the premiums. But as that teen gets older, that rate will drop for most insurance companies, based on driving, of course. So we're just saying that if you have a good driver in the house and no accidents, but regardless, you should ask your insurance provider for a new rate, considering the updated age of your 16, 17, 18, your 19-year-old, because as the teen gets older, the rate is supposed to fall. Is that what she said or not, Fabio? Yeah, I thought so. Let's take a call from Texas. Sharon, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Oh, hi, Bobby. How are you?
Terrific. You?
I'm wonderful. It's a beautiful day, and the sun is out, and I'm excited to get to ask you a question.
Well, I'm excited that you called. Where do you live in Texas?
Well, I actually live in Dallas, but I have a family farm in East Texas, so I like to get out into the country.
What do you farm? Or is it just
it's near it's about 15 miles north of Longview, but it's in the Piney Woods, northeast of Longview.
And that farm, what do you farm? Do you farm crops?
I have trees, pine trees.
Wow.
You know, I just have an ag exemption because all you have to do is turn around and there's another pine tree that pops up.
Wow. Well,
and then after so many years, you know, you get to cut them and sell them, and
terrific.
It's a great naturally sustaining part of the land.
That is terrific. That just proud for you there. We had Ivan hurricane come through in 2004, and I lost a tree, and there were like 4 pines left in my backyard. And they're all gone. I gave them away. I paid to have them because I could ill afford another roof and those sorts of things. And we were concerned we'd get more hurricanes here in Florida. And sure enough, as you know, we've had our share. Michael just devastated.
Oh, I know.
Panama
terrible.
City, and we've had a Panama City TK, not TKF. That's in Sebring, Florida, but LTG, WLTG in Panama City. John Peggy Gay owned that station. We've been on that station for years and years. So Panama City really suffered, but just near there, Mexico Beach really was devastated. But let's talk about cars.
Right.
So what can I do to help you?
I heard that on the news. I hope they're recovering.
And I as well. Thank you, Sharon.
I have an older car down here that had been my dad's that's just not going to run anymore. But before it just went kerplunk, I had bought a brand new battery for it.
Right.
And it wasn't in there a week until I don't know, left the trunk ajar or something, and it kind of died. And I've never charged it, and it's been over a year. But nevertheless, I think the battery's probably still good if I charge it. However, on my farm truck, my 96 Ford Ranger, it needs another battery, and I don't know why. I went online and looked at this Superstart 75 Extreme, and I don't know why it says I can't put it in my 96 Ford Ranger, because the Ford Ranger battery is the same size.
Well, it's a term, it's not that you can't, but the location of the terminals. In other words, let's say that we're on a football field and we've got a north end and a south end. And the ball is on the north end on the goal line on the right hash mark. And versus, so if we've got a positive terminal on the north end on the right hash mark, we're going to have a negative terminal on the south end on the same right side hash mark, because that's where the cables are made for the car. So and the car is designed for those terminals to be located specifically where they are. So that may well be the reason that the book says, or if you look up battery part numbers and fitment, it may be that the terminals are not located precisely. Now, having said that, you can physically look at the battery in both vehicles to determine if that battery would, number one, fit in there, and if the battery is larger, if the one that you are trying to use is larger than the one that was in the vehicle, that's okay as long as it will fit within the tray of the receiver car. If the terminals will also meet the same point, because if I have the football and I'm the offense and I have the football, the positive terminal on the east hash, your defense is going to be on my side of the field, not on the other side. But if they can't reach me in time, I'm going to make a touchdown. So if the cable from the car can't reach the positive terminal because it has to go across the field or across the battery, then that's not a good thing. You see I'm going there?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're saying if it can physically be maneuvered, that it will fit properly.
Yes, a 12
then I could use this battery and it wouldn't like blow up my engine or something.
No, 12-volt battery is 12-volt battery. And that's a great question that you ask. And here's my concern. A battery that has been depleted of energy for an extended period of time may not come back to life. And so and there's a specific way that it should be charged. And I don't know if you've heard me mention Johnson Controls or not, but I hope that you've heard me mention autobatteries.com. So Sharon, your to-do in your time, you can do it over the weekend, is to go to autobatteries.com. And you will find, and that's courtesy of Johnson Controls, you'll find definitions and terms and a glossary of batteries to include charging and what causes a discharge and how to charge, and also installation. So I'm glad you reached out to me, because your very question fits precisely into what Johnson Controls autobatteries.com site provides with regard to batteries. And of course, there's more there than you'll ever want to know, but it's just a great website for you to go to, number one, to determine about fitment, to determine about installation and charging. But a lead-acid battery is a lead-acid battery. So a 12-volt battery is a 12-volt battery. It doesn't matter if it's, I mean, think about it this way. Let's say you're stranded on the side of the road, and what do you drive every day?
Well, lately I've just been driving my truck.
Okay, so you're driving a truck. I'm coming along and I'm driving a Viper, and your battery's dead. And I've got one of those AGM, glass mat batteries. Mine's a 12-volt. And I said, well, I'm sorry, you need a jump, and you're in the middle of nowhere in Texas there, and a lot of flat land, right? Okay, so I said, well, I can't jump you off because I've got a Viper battery and you've got a truck battery. And you'd look at me like, really? So that's really it sounds a little silly, but the bottom line is a 12-volt battery, lead acid or AGM battery, if it'll fit in the car, it will work, especially in your case where you've already bought a battery that can fit. Now, if you have to stretch the cable and it doesn't work, don't use it. But first, you got to bring this battery back to life, and that's why I recommend that you go to autobatteries.com and check out the how-to. Okay?
Well, I did. I went to superstart.com, but it never gave me the information I'm asking you about.
Well, that's why the Auto Batteries website is so great, because it goes into detail, installation and charging and those sorts of things, and more about a battery. But you'll have to charge that battery, and here's what I recommend. I recommend a 2-day charge at 10 to 15 amps, 2 days. So that means that your charger is going to be run for an hour and a half, and then you reset it. And I'm not sure it's got a hold on it. Most chargers don't, because you don't want chargers to run forever. And also, I don't know that you have a battery charger, a commercial battery charger, but on the farm you may have one. You know, a lot of
I have one of those.
Yeah, I thought
charge. It has 5 amp, 10 amp, 15 amp, 20 amp, or something like that.
Well, a trickle charger won't have anything more than 10 amps. So I don't know that a trickle charger will do the job. But you know what, Sharon? Just hook it up and see if it comes to life. If you secure your trickle charger to this battery and it doesn't, you can spark it and you see no spark, you see no activity there, and your charger will tell you, because if it's an open circuit, it'll have a warning light there. And my concern is that the trickle charger has to see some life in a dead battery, or it will not kick that battery off, whereas a regular charger will force feed a dead battery to get it back up and running. So I'm just saying, you know.
Yeah, I have I have a bigger charger I can use too.
Okay, but don't overdo it. Don't put it on 40. Don't put it on the 40 amp, because you don't want to crank you're not using it to crank, you're using it to restore the energy, and that takes time for that transformation of activity of the cells. Okay?
Okay, that's great.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Nice to talk to you.
Nice to talk with you,
Bye-bye.
always. Bye-bye. I bet she could tell you about trees. I can just see this vast forest of pine trees, because I could see them swaying in my backyard. At 5 o'clock in November, I think it was, of '04, at 5 a.m. in the morning, that one tree, it was 90 feet tall. And we cut that tree down. And folks, we have a picture. I'd have to find it. I have a picture. Imagine a 90-foot tree, and imagine that you've got a human being that gets up to the top of that tree and tops the tree. And when you top a tree, he cut off, I think, a 20 or a 25-foot or a 10-foot. I don't know. That's not my bag. But we took a picture of this, and they called him Squirrel. And he looked like he was 20 years old, and the guy was 34 years old. He was fit, and he got up that tree, and he topped that tree. And just so happened that my wife caught that tree being topped, and the top of the tree was in a 90-degree fixed location in that picture, with him on the vertical in the remaining top of the tree, and he cut off above him, obviously not below him. And this top of this tree was some 10 feet falling away from, and of course they had a rope attached to it, so they knew where it would fall because they pulled it that way. But it was a work of art. If you think cutting a tree down is not a work of art, you just never watched what happens after a hurricane, or you've never been into a tree farm like this lady had, Sharon from Texas. 888-227-2546. Speaking of hurricanes, reminds me of cars that have been flooded and or damaged that should be completely trashed. And then I think of cars that receive a little damage or that are fixable. And that's where you need to work with your insurance company and need to work with a collision center. And you know that I am an endorser for CarStar. And CarStar was a company that was founded on the belief that a network of high-quality collision repair facilities would be a benefit to you, the consumer, and welcomed by the insurance industry. And sure enough, years later, CarStar is, of course, North America's largest multi-shop operator network of independently owned collision repair facilities with auto body repair and also paintless dent repair and, as I mentioned, storm damage repair with 24/7 accident assistance. CarStar, check them out, carstar.com. So that's about it for today's broadcast. I see that we have Jerry on there. What do we have, a couple of minutes left maybe, Fabio? 1 minute? Well, Jerry, I'm not going to try to cram your call into the last minute. I'll ask you to call back next week. And folks, I'll ask you to call in earlier versus later in the program so I can share with you and help you and give you information that my 47 years in the automotive industry allows me and I bring to you. So for 47 years, we've repaired, pre-repaired. That's our prevention of repair plan that we created some 12 years ago, and it literally prevents repairs. So what does that mean? It means that for every dollar you spend on pre-repair, you save $6 on breakdowns or repair jobs. And with that comes a lifetime protection plan. It's a great benefit that I wish we could take nationwide, but that's just not going to happen. So for those of you in the Pensacola area, we welcome you. And for those of you across the nation and the globe tuned in, tune in next week for more information right here from the center of the automotive universe. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
When your battery goes dead, everything can come to a stop. Don't take a chance on getting stranded. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and get your battery tested free of charge. If your battery does need to be replaced, O'Reilly Auto Parts can help you find the exact Superstart battery that fits your car or truck at a guaranteed low price. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Motorrad, a longtime OE supplier, is the leader in automotive thermostats and fuel and oil coolant caps. Motorrad's state-of-the-art quality control and functional testing systems ensure high-quality, long-lasting products. Motorrad delivers world-class product development, providing all the parts and accessories needed to do the job right the first time, every time. Motorrad offers the best coverage of thermostats and closure caps in the world for virtually any vehicle and engine on or off the road. Motorrad, leading the way in coverage and service.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
P. Ricey Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck